Mr. Bradford, you have made a very passionate plea for state-run exchanges. And I totally agree that that would be the very best, because if you have ever tried to work with the federal government, it's not a pleasant thing. But I want to read you a section of the rules and regs for exchanges that makes me wonder if we really will have any power to do anything that the HHS does not want us to do. And it says, an exchange may not establish rules that conflict with or prevent the application of regulations promulgated by the Secretary of HHS. So, I guess what I'm saying to you, if I have a problem and I go to you, we have a state exchange, then you're going to have to go to the feds, and they're going to say, that is not in our rules. We appreciate you coming, but we can't change the rules for Arkansas. So my question to you is, what difference will it make whether we have a state exchange or not when the feds are going to be controlling it anyway? And here's the second part to the question. The second part is, give me specific examples of how creating state-run exchanges will, and if that's possible, state-run exchanges, will improve the cost or the quality of care for our constituents. And then my third question, which is a little bit off this subject, tell me, what are the cost overruns of the states that you said, I think it was 10 states you mentioned at first, that have already implemented the exchanges? And I'm looking forward to that answer, and I have some more when you finish.
Okay. Well, you probably need to prompt me a little bit about what you're asking. But going back, so the regulatory authority, I put it in pretty basic terms. The Health and Human Services regulations are not going to address the non-performance of a company in getting one of your constituents their claim check on time. Or they're not going to address the conduct of an agent who may mislead and misrepresent something to your constituents. And all of those the real meat of the issue is the day-to-day market conduct of an insurance company, their agents, how it affects the constituents. Those are many times pretty easily solved problems. But if you got to call Health and Human Services to solve them, it scares all of us. I know. You've already said that on the front end of your question. I appreciate you saying that. And so it is a fact that federal law overrides state law. That's a constitutional issue, and we can't change that. That's why we're having to deal with this federal. We're just trying to deal with the stuff that we can change, which is the local management of the exchange. And so, those are facts. Those are facts that the day-to-day, like I said, we get over 20,000 calls a year from Arkansans that need help. And we don't win them all. We probably don't win half of them, but we address them all. And we win a lot, some of them, I say. And so that's what we want to keep doing on their behalf. Now, the cost overruns are yet to come. What we were saying on those states that have already authorized exchange, that means they're going to have an exchange. Now, the economics of that, the cost overruns, or whatever happens on that, that'll be historical data that we'll look back on and see how that happened, because we've all seen that in government. So they just said, we're going to operate exchange for those that right 10 states. And,
so have operational statewide now.
Yeah, you talk about Utah in that cases? Yeah. So, what was over? There's something else in there, I've forgotten.
Well, what about, talking about cost overruns, what about Utah and Mississippi? They've had theirs up running for quite a while, haven't they?
Massachusetts and Utah, they're two different animals. The Massachusetts Exchange.
Massachusetts.
Yes, ma'am. The Massachusetts Exchange has been operational probably for years now. And it is, I would have to say, is a true exchange. And it has all these intricacies that we're trying to get our hands around now.
But what about the cost overruns there?
Oh, I think that the facts are that the inflationary costs of medical care are going nuts.
But just about running the exchange, though, much more so than they predicted when they started it. Massachusetts is a prime example, and also, it's my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is the model for the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act.
That's the only thing you can look at to say it's close. I agree with you. The Utah thing is basically a private exchange, and that's what the representative was talking about earlier. So it doesn't have the impact, as the Massachusetts exchange does. But there again, here's our scenario here. That is going to be the federal law of the land if it's not changed. And we don't, that if the feds operate this exchange or we operate the exchange, those type of issues there are going to exist. And but I've been to Massachusetts early on, and it sounded great until they got to the bottom line.
Well, see, that's part of the problem, because policy looks good sometimes on paper, but then when you implement it, that's when you run into trouble. And I think what we're seeing is that the policy looks good here with these exchanges, but it just doesn't seem, with the feds telling Arkansas what they're going to do and what they are not going to do on substance and on those things that really matter.